There are some days in our lives that are going to go down in infamy and some days that are going to go down in glory. One of the days that went down in glory for me was when I bought a PlayStation 4 just so I could play Spider-Man, because I had friends tell me that you would feel like you were Spider-Man, and they were right, because I did, and that's why it's my favorite video game of all time, and that has not changed since Spider-Man 2 came out. Spider-Man 2 is definitely the most anticipated game release of my lifetime. I have never been more excited slash nervous slash I don't even know the right emotion to say for the release of a video game before in my life. And this game wasn't a disappointment, but it definitely wasn't perfect, and I don't think it quite lived up to the expectations I set for it. Of course, that's my own fault for setting such high expectations, but I mean, look at the first game. The first game was absolutely incredible. I don't think I was in the wrong for setting the expectations that I did, and I'm going to talk about why the game didn't quite live up to those expectations, but why it was still an incredible game that you definitely should play if you haven't already. We're going to start out by talking about the gameplay, and long story short, it was amazing. The gameplay already seemed perfect in the first game, and they were able to take that gameplay and keep it at that same level, in my opinion. Everything from picking up trash in Peter Parker's house to swinging around the city, in my opinion, was pretty fun. And yes, picking up the trash was fun. It showed a side of Peter Parker that you don't usually see, in that he's still human and that he still has things to do, like pay bills and clean up his house and try to convince his girlfriend to move in with him. We've all been there. One of the things I think the gameplay improved on was that there were times in the first game where it felt kind of repetitive. It felt like you were doing the same thing over and over again once you finished the main story, which was just beating up criminals or beating up demons or beating up Sable agents, and there was nothing really else to do. Sometimes you could chase pigeons around, and I think this game really improved on that. There were a lot more things to do within the city. The side missions in this game were above and beyond what I expected to be. They were really incredible, much better than the first game side missions. The additions of the Queens and Brooklyn borough really made you feel like a real New Yorker, and the photo ops went in with that very well. Instead of being stuck in Manhattan taking pictures of landmarks, you felt like a real New Yorker taking pictures of a lot of different things in the different boroughs, and that part, to me, was a lot of fun. Continuing with the gameplay, playing as MJ was once again not fun. I don't know why they insisted on adding that into the game after it was the biggest complaint of the first one, but I will say they did improve. Being chased by a symbiote-infected Peter Parker in a subway tunnel was very scary and very fun, but other than that one, they just really gave her a gun, and not much else changed. They really weren't that fun, but they were better, so I guess that's points for this game. But ultimately, my biggest complaint with the gameplay is going to come from the gadgets. The gadgets from the first game were a lot of fun, and you had more variety in your gadgets rather than four. I don't know, I just feel like you had something really cool in the first game, and then you kind of switched it up and brought it down, and I don't understand why you did that. Especially since this game is pushing a high-tech Peter Parker more so than I would appreciate. One of my biggest complaints with the Tom Holland Spider-Man series was that he was basically Iron Man Jr. and had all this technology and stuff, and I prefer a more grounded Peter Parker myself. And this game kind of took that high-tech Peter Parker and took it to the next level. I mean, why were there lasers coming out of his spider arms? And the spider arms are cool if you're wearing an Iron Spider suit, but if you're wearing a Raimi suit or a TASM suit, why do I need the spider arms on my suit? It doesn't look right, and it doesn't feel Peter Parker-y. And I know he had this in the first game too, but never should Spider-Man have anti-gravity gadgets. That's just not who Peter Parker is. My next complaint with the gameplay was the stealth missions. You had a lot of these in the first game, and they were so much fun to do. This game, they were there, but you really didn't have to do them because you were pretty much overpowered, whether you were Miles with all the electrical powers or Peter with the symbiote or the anti-venom. There was no need to do them, making them boring, which sucks considering they added the web lines, which made some of the stealth you did a lot more fun, but you just didn't do enough stealth in this game like you did in the first game, and I wish they would have at least added some extra stealth missions in there. This game did a very good job of immersing you in New York City. The audios and the visuals were incredible, but my biggest complaint with the gameplay of this game is that you did not feel like you were Spider-Man swinging through the city. In the first game, you literally felt like you were Spider-Man. And I know that just sounded very redundant, but I don't know any other way to put it. You were swinging off of buildings, climbing up walls, running around, not using your web gliders all the time, which made traveling faster. But I mean, you just don't feel like you're Spider-Man. You had extra boost and powers that helped you get places faster. You had insane symbiote powers, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like you were Peter Parker in this game. And I know for a lot of the game he was in the symbiote and not himself, but even after the fact, you just don't feel like you're Peter Parker like you did in the first game. Aside from those complaints, you can't really say anything else negative about the gameplay, in my opinion. The gameplay was incredible. It was a lot of fun, and they added some cool, interesting stuff in there that I really enjoyed. Now, on to the story. The story, for the most part, was incredible. A very fun story to follow. And once again, I do prefer the story in the first game, but this story had some more stuff into it that made it very intriguing. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. But Kraven in particular was everything I could have wanted him to be, other than the fact that he had thousands of soldiers. I get why it's a video game, you have to have somebody to beat up. Besides that, Kraven was perfect. If you don't know, if you haven't watched any Next Topic Media videos before, you probably don't know Kraven is my favorite villain of all time, and he's been done so dirty in multiple forms of content. I hate when they turn him into a lion. It sucks when they turn him into a lion, and I was scared they were going to do that in this game. Kraven was perfect in this video game from the opening scene. Even up until his last words, which were thank you, I thought those scenes with Kraven were so incredible, and I so wish they would have had him in this game more, because he really wasn't in this game a lot. You barely saw him, but when you did, it was awesome. Another part of the story that I really liked was Martin Li's redemption, and seeing Miles put aside his desire for revenge to help save Martin Li, and Martin Li being able to help out the Spider-Man and make amends, or try to make amends for what he did in the first game. And it's part of the reason why I love Far From Home so much, is because Spider-Man helps people. It's what he does, even villains, even some of his greatest enemies. And when he has the desire for revenge, he's able to put it aside to do what's best for people that aren't himself. And Miles did that for Martin Li in this game, and Martin Li has now become one of my favorite Spider-Man characters because of his storyline in this game, which I really, really loved. And finally, we get to Venom. I don't know. Venom is not one of my favorite Spider-Man villains to begin with. I know he's a very popular villain and people love him, but I've never been the biggest fan. And this Venom might be one of my least favorites. And I know that's really weird to hear, but it's just how I feel. I've never been a big fan of Harry as Venom when they've done that before in the past. It did fit the story very well. It would have been very weird and forced if they would have put Eddie Brock in this universe to be Venom. So I'm not complaining about Harry being Venom, but there were some issues with this character and this Venom that I had. One, why was he able to just, touch MJ and she became Scream? How was he able to cover all of Manhattan in symbiote goo? I don't understand how that's ever been possible for Venom, and he was just able to do it with really no explanation in this video game. And another part that I guess I'll go back into the gameplay about is that fighting Venom was not fun at all. It wasn't even that it was challenging, it just wasn't fun. They put you in a very confined space, and if you look at the previews for the game, it looked like you were going to be swinging around fighting them, crushing buildings and things, and you didn't get to do that. You were stuck in these really tiny areas and spaces to fight them in. It wasn't challenging enough, and it just wasn't fun, and it really took the enjoyment of the character Venom out of this game for me, and he was probably my least favorite part of this game, which sucks to say because he is literally the main villain of this game. It was fun getting to destroy Oscorp Tower as Venom, but when you fought Kraven as Venom, I really did not want to beat Kraven. I wanted Kraven to win. Of course, the game wouldn't let you. You had to beat Kraven for the game to continue, but I was sad that I had to be the one to kill my favorite villain and not just defeat him as Spider-Man. However, I will give Venom this. It is refreshing to see Venom as an actual villain again, and not just as a anti-hero as we've seen so much in recent media. I was very relieved that he was an actual villain and an actual monster, because that's how Venom should be, and that's when Venom's at his best. And this Venom had its issues, but it was still okay. I still think the best Venom adaptation was Spectacular Spider-Man's Venom. I don't think that one will ever get beat, but I will keep an open mind and hope that it will. To put my final input there, because I know this has seemed like a negative review, and it's not. It's just I'm talking about the things that I didn't like about the game mostly. Ultimately, this was a beautiful game, so beautiful that I actually cried, not because there was something so sad that made me cry, but because there was one scene, and I'm not going to say which scene because I don't think it warrants tears, but for me it did because it was so beautifully done, and it's a scene I've been wanting to see for a very long time. It was beautiful. This game made you feel the stress of Peter Parker as an adult, trying to balance his life with the typical Spider-Man stuff, and a high school kid trying to apply for college while balancing crime stopping. And this is another issue I kind of had. I guess I should have put this in the issues before I talked about how great the game was, but why was Miles' really only storyline Martin Lee and his college essay? Why was he the one you fight Venom as last? He has no connection to Harry. He spoke on the phone with him and he shook his hand. I don't know. But anyways, going back to the good stuff about this game. This game shows you all the things that we struggle with in our day-to-day life, and we got to relate to Miles and Peter in some pretty cool ways. And the creators of this game understood what makes Peter Parker Peter Parker and what makes Miles Morales, and we got to experience those things firsthand. Even if it wasn't as great as the first game, this game was still amazing, and it's another day that will go down in glory as one of the days that a great video game was released. My final rating for this game is going to be an 8.7 out of 10. The game was incredible for the most part. Aside from the issues I highlighted in this video, it was a lot of fun and a great game with a great story, and I am very excited to see where the story continues from this video game. Looks like the Green Goblin's going to come in, and it looks like Cindy Moon's going to come in, who, if you don't know, is Silk. She's getting her own show, unless it's been canceled at this point, which is very likely. Her comic books are also pretty cool and interesting to read, so I'm excited to see her in a video game. And let me know what you guys think about the video game. If you think my rating is fair or if you think I was stupid, please let me know. Like this video, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.